little while ago I made a video about motorbike security and how perhaps to keep your bike safe. A few tips that I picked up from my own experience. And evidently, I struck a chord with some people because it's one of my more popular videos and it's actually one of the ones that when I meet people who've seen the channel, they tend to bring up. So, a little while on, I'm a little bit older, hopefully a little bit wiser. 50% of that is definitely true. And I have a few more tips and improvements that I've made to my own security which I'd like to share with you. Tip number one is going to be familiar. It is locks and chains, but a slight improvement, I hope, in my own security. First and foremost, the information I found about chains actually was on Bennett's or Bike Social. The link will of course be in the description and it is very, very useful. Your chain or lock will probably be on there, so do check it out and just see how it stacks up against its competition. And my previous recommendation was from Almax, and I still recommend that chain wholeheartedly. I still use my Almax chain. But in actual fact, the company that came out as top dog was a company called Pragmasis. I decided to upgrade because, near as damn it, it's the same strength of chain, but it comes with a stronger lock, so it's ever so slightly better, and perhaps more importantly, it's actually slightly cheaper than the Almax as well. Something that I actually wasn't aware of before I ordered it is that the lock that it comes with also doubles as a disc lock, which is a cute little feature. Maybe cute's the wrong term for a lock. It's very attractive. It's versatile, it's useful, and I have actually used it as a disc lock, and I have to say it works quite nicely as well. It doesn't slot into the holes, it slots into the kind of wider frame of the disc. You know the bit I mean. I've got a video, there's a picture. You can see it on the screen now. Any which way, the nice thing about upgrading is that I now have two big fat beastie chains. Starting price for the Pragmasis 19mm, which as I say I have, is I think £165. I paid £191 I think it was, because it comes with the lock as previously mentioned, and it is 2 meters in length. And the chain's pretty big too. That's right. Next up on the list of improvements is a ground anchor. Now I do stand by my original point that if they cut through the lock or the chain, the ground anchor is redundant because they will just then unwrap it from the wheel and the bike is free. But if they're going to turn up with a van and they're looking for a quick getaway and just pick up the bike silently and drive off, then they can't do that. They have to cut through something. So it is still a worthy investment if you've got the time and the money. And they don't have to be too expensive. The one I've gone for is again from Pragmasis, and they call it the DoubleDoofer. And that is a funny name. But the big selling point is that, believe it or not, it is detachable. Yeah, I know, that sounds stupid. Why would you want a ground anchor that you can remove from the ground? That renders it somewhat redundant. No, it doesn't. It works thusly. Basically, you bolt it into the ground as you would a normal ground anchor. You then, and this is where it gets the awesome name DoubleDoofer, stick on a second blanking plate with some Phillips head screws. You attach that to the bottom plate, and once the chain is wrapped through it, it is immovable because you cannot lift it high enough to get access to the Allen keys to then remove it. It's a nifty little solution to multiple use ground anchors without compromising on strength. It is worth noting though that it is only so large, so I don't know whether it actually fits the 22mm chain. No, I do know it doesn't fit it. So if you have the 19mm or lower, you can fit it to the DoubleDoofer. If it is a slightly smaller chain, they actually stick in some plates as well, which raise it up a little bit and obviously just close the aperture somewhat so that the chain is again snug when you fit it through. And the third improvement is going to be, have I put numbers on these? Did I do a number? Was there one? Did it flash up? 3? Sure. And the third major improvement I've made to my security is a tracker. I did mention them last time, but I have subsequently bought one myself, which means that I can actually talk about it and critique it because I've lived with it for a little while now. There are two main options in the UK. Those are from Datatool and Biketrac. I went for the Biketrac option. One, because it is ever so slightly cheaper, I believe, or it was at the time of me buying it. Two, they don't charge you extra for extra alerts, whereas with the Datatool option, again at the time, if you had more than 10, I think it was in a month, you had to pay for extra alerts. Hopefully you're not setting off anything more than that. And the third major difference between them is that Datatool, I believe, monitors your speed, and Biketrac doesn't, which is of no specific relevance to myself, but if you can make use of that, then you'll get no judgment here. Moving on. There are some nifty little features on the Biketrac which I quite like. It actually has a mapping system, so it does monitor the bike. Obviously, if it was to get stolen, they do monitor its location. But even if it's not stolen, you can log into your account and check your routes. So if you've been out riding and you weren't really paying attention where you were riding or what roads you were on, and you found a really good one but then weren't sure if you could find it again afterwards, you can review the map and see where you ended up. I quite like that. It also tells you what your battery life is. It has an automatic alert which actually will tell you when it drops below a certain threshold. If you are worried though, it doesn't just draw off the battery, it has its own internal, which means that if bike thieves are going to nick it and disconnect the battery, or if it's gone for too long, it will eventually switch over to that. At some point it will die, but hopefully by then you found your bike. Hopefully. And then, which is fairly common of these trackers, you can stick it in service mode. That is very useful, and I'm sure you will forget at least once in your ownership. But if you are working on the bike, if you're cleaning it, if you're doing an oil change, whatever it is, if you don't want the alarm to go off and you don't want to get that phone call, you can set it to service mode. You can decide how long that is for, and then you won't get any alerts when you move the bike with the ignition off. In case you're wondering how sensitive it is, that kind of stuff shouldn't set it off. A little bit of a shake, probably okay. Sometimes if you're having a slow day, you're feeling a bit lonely, it's just nice to talk to someone. And there we go. So you get a text, you get an email, and then you get a phone call. Yeah, hello. Yeah, no, I was testing it again. Yeah, sorry. I know I said I wouldn't do it again, but, well, don't get like that, you know. Okay, how's your day? Good. How's the family? I know you got a busy day. All right, okay. All right. Speak to you soon. Love you. No, they've gone. Obviously, I don't condone crying wolf. They're very busy people. I would never mess around like that. If you need to stick it in service mode, you can do that. If you need to do something on the bike, or if you're going to clean it, whatever you need to do. Link to Biketrac will be in the description. Again, the unit is £300, fitment is somewhere around 100, and then the subscription is either £100 for the year or £10 per month. But for the peace of mind that I get from having that tracker on there, from knowing that it brings down my insurance, that I've done everything within my power to keep my bike safe, it's well worth the money. There is some positive news. A lot of the reports at the moment seem to indicate that bike theft is on a slight decline. Nothing to break out the bunting. You can put the martini asti to one side just for the moment, but I think we should all collectively just celebrate a slight win, a small win, for those that are trying to keep their possessions safe. For those of us who choose 2 wheels over 4. For those of us who need them to get around. And for those of us that pour our heart and soul into our pride and joy. Because if you're really, really quiet, and you listen really, really closely, you can hear one of them bouncing off the bonnet of a police car. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to those I've actually met in person, and thanks to all of you who've commented down below as well. As always, I appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Ta-ra.